The palace was heavy with incense and rumor. It was 1543, and King Henry VIII, old, bloated, and half broken from his wars and wives, limped through the corridors of Hampton Court in search of something he no longer believed existed: peace. And then she entered his life, a widow twice over, educated, graceful, serene, a woman whose eyes held both compassion and intellect, a rare combination in a court sharpened by ambition and fear. Her name was Catherine Parr, and in her presence the storm briefly stilled. Born around 1512 to Sir Thomas Parr of Kendal and Maud Green, lady-in-waiting to Queen Catherine of Aragon, young Catherine was named after the Spanish queen, an omen, perhaps, of her destiny to inherit that same royal mantle. She was educated not only in languages and scripture, but also in philosophy, history, and humanist thought, the intellectual currents sweeping through Europe like a quiet revolution. By her 20s, she had already been twice married, first to Edward Burrough, a Lincolnshire gentleman who died young, then to John Neville, Lord Latimer, a noble of the northern shires. It was during her years with Latimer, amid the bloody aftermath of the Pilgrimage of Grace, a northern rebellion against Henry's break with Rome, that Catherine learned the most dangerous lesson of Tudor England. Survival depended on subtlety. She had seen mobs drag nobles from their halls and priests from their altars. She had seen fanaticism dressed as faith, and she had learned that the sharpest weapon at court was neither sword nor statute, but speech, measured, calm, and careful. When Lord Latimer died in 1543, Catherine found herself at court, attending Princess Mary, Henry's eldest daughter. There, fate and the king's gaze found her. Henry was nearly twice her age, his body ruined by ulcers, his temper by suspicion. Yet the crown still dazzled, and his court trembled before him. Catherine, however, did not. Before she even considered his proposal, she confessed to being in love with another, Thomas Seymour, the handsome, ambitious brother of Henry's late queen, Jane Seymour. But Seymour was sent abroad, and Catherine, torn between her heart and her sense of duty, accepted the royal proposal. On July 12, 1543, in the Queen's Closet at Hampton Court Palace, Catherine Parr became the sixth wife of Henry VIII. She was no naive bride. She entered the marriage not as a lover, but as a healer, both of the king's body and his fractured family. Henry's leg ulcer oozed and stank. His moods darkened with pain. Catherine tended to him like a nurse, soothing his tempers and softening his cruelty. She reconciled him with his daughters Mary and Elizabeth, restoring them to the line of succession, and in doing so, helped secure the future of the Tudor dynasty. But she was more than a caretaker. She was a queen regent. When Henry departed for war with France in 1544, Catherine was appointed to govern England in his absence, a rare honor for a queen consort. She ruled with prudence, signing royal proclamations and overseeing the defense of the realm. She even corresponded with the regent of the Netherlands, Mary of Hungary, in Latin, a clear demonstration that she was the intellectual equal of Europe's great rulers. Catherine's piety, however, would nearly destroy her. She was deeply influenced by the new Protestant ideas of reform and personal faith, circulating in England despite Henry's dangerous half-reformation. Her private circle included Anne Askew, a radical preacher later burned at the stake, and she read and even wrote religious works advocating direct access to Scripture. In 1545, Catherine published Prayers or Meditations, the first English devotional work ever written and published by a queen under her own name. It was revolutionary, quietly, gently revolutionary. But in the poisonous air of Henry's court, even whispers of reform could be fatal. Her enemies, notably Stephen Gardiner, the conservative Bishop of Winchester, saw in her writings a chance to bring down the Queen. They accused her of heresy, of undermining the king's authority as the supreme head of the church. A warrant for her arrest was drawn. The story goes that one evening, a messenger accidentally dropped the arrest warrant outside Catherine's chambers. It was found by one of her ladies, who delivered it in terror to the Queen. Catherine read it, pale, silent, and then acted with the cunning of a survivor. The next day, she went to the king and confessed not defiance, but devotion. She told Henry that her discussions of religion were never meant to teach him, but to learn from him, to soothe him in his hours of suffering. Flattered, the aging monarch's wrath melted away. When the guards later arrived with the warrant, Henry shouted them out of the room, roaring that his wife was a woman most meet for the company of a king. In that moment, Catherine Parr became the only one of Henry's 6 wives to both outwit him and outlive him. When Henry died in January 1547, Catherine mourned him sincerely, but not for long. Within months, she finally married the man she had once loved, Thomas Seymour. But her fairy tale was not to last. Seymour was reckless, ambitious, and soon became entangled in court intrigue, particularly around the young King Edward VI and Princess Elizabeth. Catherine, meanwhile, was pregnant for the first time at 35. She retired to Sudeley Castle in Gloucestershire, where she gave birth to a daughter, Mary Seymour, in August 1548. Just 6 days later, Catherine Parr died of puerperal fever, her body exhausted by childbirth. Her last recorded words were both bitter and serene. "God help me, as I have been deceived." Catherine Parr was more than a survivor. She was a bridge between the medieval and the modern, between Catholic tradition and Protestant reform, between the brutality of Henry's reign and the brilliance of Elizabeth's. It was her influence that helped shape Elizabeth I, who inherited not only her intellect but her self-control and political grace. Catherine's published works, Prayers or Meditations 1545, and The Lamentation of a Sinner 1547, became milestones of English religious literature, written in the plain, sincere language that would later define the Protestant Reformation. She was, in many ways, the first Renaissance Queen of England, an embodiment of faith tempered by reason, of power softened by empathy. While others were destroyed by the Tudor court, she mastered its most dangerous art, surviving with her soul intact. When the marble effigies of Henry's wives are considered, most remember tragedy: Anne Boleyn's fall, Catherine Howard's betrayal, Catherine of Aragon's heartbreak. But Catherine Parr's story ends differently. She did not die in terror or disgrace. She did not fade in exile or shame. She died as she lived, thinking, writing, and believing. A woman who turned duty into compassion and survival into quiet triumph. In an age of kings who devoured queens, Catherine Parr was the one who endured. The queen who healed a tyrant, united a family, and wrote her own salvation into history.